and 1, you're not quite there yet. So at every academic grading progress check, 4.5 weeks, 9 weeks, 13.5, so on, not only do they get an academic grade, they get a respect, responsibility, and safety grade that way. So if they have any ones at all, they're put on the no-fly zone. They're not making the grade as citizens and what we expect out of our students. And if they're less than a 2.0, they need academic help, so they do not get the privilege to leave. So at this point, as of December 11th, 297 students earned the Cardinal Pass, 78 were placed on the no-fly zone.
The juniors and seniors.
This is the whole student body.
Yeah, right.
But only juniors and seniors have the ability. One of the incentives is that the juniors and seniors can leave. Freshmen and sophomores were working on other incentive programs.
What if I, as a parent of a junior or senior, do not want my child to have that?
They have not signed a parental permission slip and they stay in school.
Okay, so they're in control of that as parents?
Parents are in control of that, yes. I've got a file of all the ones that are signed.
Awesome.
Okay.
Was that breakdown, like 297, 78, was that about what you were expecting?
I expect to be a little higher.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I actually did. I expected to have more students not quite making the grade, to be honest with you. I was happy with that number. I was hoping we were doing it right.
Yeah.
As we are going through, I just got the numbers from progress report checks, so I just got those this afternoon. I was just glancing through those, and as we go through, I'll kind of tell you what I expect those numbers to look like now.
Okay.
So here are the Cardinal scores, 3, 2, 1. Just what I kind
I should have just hit the button.
of, well, you know.
Leading the witness.
So here's our incentive program at this time. Juniors and seniors earn a pass. They can leave at 2:45 and leave school at that time. Any students with a pass, they are now assigned for study hall to go to library, the commons area under the direction of Mr. McFadden and his library pages. We have some students that are helping with this. And they're allowed to sign out and go to any of the new spaces in our building. You know, the concession stand lounge area, the cafeteria, the innovation lab, all those new spaces that the referendum provided for us. We have students going there. They can hang out, they can study, as long as they're doing what they're supposed to do. And at the end of the 9-week period, anybody that made the pass list, freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors, they had root beer floats at lunch one day, and we'll continue to do things like that after every grading period. Root beer is not very expensive, so it worked out pretty good that way. So if you fail to earn the Cardinal Pass, you're required to stay in school like you used to. It's regular study hall, regular dismissal time of 3:20. Nothing changes for them. They just don't earn those extra privileges for making the grade. It should be noted, since the end of the 9-week period, the 4.5-week period where we really started going implementing this, we've had 6 students get their wings clipped, so to speak, where they were found not to be where they were supposed to be, so they lost privileges, things of that nature. So they can get away with stuff until we're looking for them, and if they're not where they're supposed to be, then we find them, and then they lose their privileges. So that's pretty much how that works. So as I go through my referrals that I get from teachers, students that receive numerous level 2 type referrals, even if they're making the grade and I find it really hard to believe that you would have all 2s and 3s if you're getting numerous referrals to my office. But if that would be the case, if they would somehow go under the radar and they have referrals, numerous referrals like that, they'd be on the no-fly list as well. Also, students who have unexcused truancies recorded in our attendance will be required to be on the no-fly zone. As our attendance policy states, every student can be excused by their parents up to 5 times a semester. And anything after that has to be medically verified. So with deer hunting, with the flu season, we have a few kids that have reached that unexcused truancy level. So there's a few of those that are going to be getting their wings clipped this 4.5 weeks. So right now, like I said, I just got the information from Carol. So I don't have that data tabulated yet. I was just kind of going through it. I'm going to tell you that the no-fly zone is going to be a little bit higher. I'm guessing it's going to be over 100 at this point, just because of truancies. we have about the same number of students that have the 2.0 or less. You know, so the grades haven't changed, but we've had to clip some wings, and we've had, you know, we're at that time of the year as we get later in the semester where the attendance becomes an issue for some of us.
And then Tom, I think we talked about this when we introduced this program, because we're doing that 4.5 week check, when you lose maybe one of those extra privileges, it's not a life sentence. You get a
Yeah.
chance to earn it back within weeks, right?
Yeah, so right now we just hit the old second quarter progress report. January 18th, I believe, is the end of the semester. So now this period of time, from December 17th today to January 18th is the next period where you might be on that no-fly list. And then you have 4.5 weeks to get the grades up and to get a new Cardinal score.
So the goal is to be an incentive program for students.
Precisely.
So how do you feel that's going?
The feedback that Mr. McFadden from the study hall, the 9th and 10th graders are the ones that are really, we're working on those guys to get some incentives. Because the juniors and seniors, the number one incentive for them is to fly out of there at 2:45. So that was the easy one. But the freshmen and sophomores, as we opened up other areas of the building for them and give them some, you know, we're trusting them to do the right thing. And the feedback that Mr. McFadden has received from the library, study hall, commons area has been very positive for the kids. The other day, he was walking through the building, and we had about 25 kids down the commons, about 10 kids over in the concession stand lounge, 3 or 4 kids in the old bat cave, we still call it that. You know, so we have kids using the building and using the different areas. They have some freedoms, and as long as they don't abuse the privileges, they're going to be welcome to use those areas of the building. And it's
One of the things too is like the benefit of what's happening with the staff during this time.
oh, well, the staff, if I have a study hall and, you know, and normally I'd have 18, 20 kids in my study hall. Now my study hall is really only going to be 5, 6, 7 kids that aren't earning that Cardinal pass. So now, as a study hall teacher, I only have the kids in there that really need my assistance, who really need me to go through and help check their grades, look at missing assignments, things of that nature. So instead of having a study hall in the classroom of 20 kids, now it's 7 or 8. And Mac and his staff of students that are helping him are running the rest of it and giving the privileges
So
out.
is this time still used for clubs?
No, not really.
That's what I thought.
No, it's used primarily for academics and collaboration. As far as Cardinal time has been designed primarily for academics, so we have not allowed FFA, FBLA meetings, Interact meetings to happen during Cardinal time. So it's been designed that way. So now, we do require our juniors and seniors to stay at Cardinal time on occasion. For example, I know Mr. Schultz has his AP kids meet at Cardinal time, and they have to be there. And if they're not there, and I make sure that the teachers verbally tell the kids that, hey, this day you have to be there, otherwise they're not there, they can get their wings clipped for that. So they've got their responsibility to be in Cardinal time if they're
In
necessary.
fact, we held a senior class meeting today, everyone was there, with good notice. If we give them a good week notice, most kids will come
And
in.
it's real, in today's day and age, it's really important that you communicate that with the kids, because if you just send them an email, I don't know about you, most kids aren't really, you know, you want them to use that email for communication with us, but you gotta make sure you make that verbal connection if you need.
So ideally, if this all goes well, there should be improved grades
One would
and
hope.
improved behavior and less referrals to the office for discipline issues. So
Right.
it'll take time to see that.
It'll
all
take
shake out.
time, and I would love to tell you that my office isn't that busy, but I'm still busy.
Yeah.
You know.
You still have teenagers. in the
Yeah, they're
building.
still teenagers, they're still gonna make mistakes, but overall, you know, if that little bit of an incentive can, you know, help change behaviors and get better grades and better study habits out of our kids, that's what it's all about.
I have to say, as a parent, an unexpected benefit of this has been, it's easier to schedule things like physical therapy appointments.
Mhm.
And then my kid didn't have to bring in doctor's notes because he could go at the end of the
Yeah.
day and get there in time. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, those
It's
are
more flexibility for the kids
Yeah.
and families.
and the kids really like it when they can go home and run home before practice or go to work
See the weight
early.
room being used at all during that time?
Weight room is fully being used. We probably have 30 kids in there a day during cardinal time though.
The other thing I can quickly add is that there's a calm in the building at the end of the day that we haven't seen. You know, it used to be at 3:20, you got 400 some kids out. And we literally are dismissing in phases now that you get juniors and seniors heading out, and they leave very appropriately
Yeah.
quiet because they know there's still things going on in the building. In fact, we had a group the other day that did not go but stayed and worked out in one of our seating areas, and you wouldn't even know when they were there. So the temperament of kids as they dismiss has really, it's calm. Tom.
Yeah, it's very nice, you know. When you stand at the Cardinal lobby, I stand on top of the stairs sometimes, and the kids are just walking right out to the parking lot. There's no hooping and hollering, they just walk out and it's been good.
So one of the measurement tools that we'll be sharing with you are the actual Cardinal scores and an average score for the district. It's gonna come, we'll be able to report it by building, by grade level, but really overall, we're gonna have one score. And then the suspensions, expulsions piece, that's another measurement tool. So the things that you're referring to, they're embedded into our accountability that we have created.
The last thing I'll share is ultimately, one of our long-term goals with Cardinal scores will be to begin to get input from, under our college, career, and community readiness piece, is that we'll start working with local partners in terms of employment and see where our responsibility, safety, respect falls with what they would expect to see of an employee. And probably within the start next year, the 3 2s and 1s can also be used on scholarship recommendations and job recommendations. It's really,
That's the goal.
it can be more than just the incentive program. And I want to compliment Tom and Chris Pasick and our staff for really working with us as well as our kids, but I think we've only scratched the surface on the impact that this could have moving forward.
And it should also be noted too, that if a teacher is going to give a 1, we have an expectation that they are making they're having a conversation not only with the student, but they're calling home and informing the parent that a 1's on its way if things don't change. So that piece between the parent and the teacher, you know, that communication piece can be improved too. So it's just not an arbitrary 1 coming out, you know, that last week of school. This is a process, or the last week of the grading period. So we're encouraging that conversation to take place. So students nor parents are blindsided. So if you planted an orthodontist appointment at 3 o'clock and all of a sudden his wings are clipped, oh, that's the problem, you know?
So I appreciate some of the jargon, but no-fly zone.
I know.
That no-fly zone just came out of nowhere, actually. It was just one of those things.
It works really well, though.
Yeah, he's always used that type of language.
Tom, do any other school districts improvise a program of constructive?
Yes, not so much the way we are. In my previous district, they had a full resource hour, and as long as you had the grades, you could go. But there was no incentive program like what we're doing. There wasn't that kind of thing.
So ours are grades and behavior. So
Yeah.
our big piece is we're trying to say that the behavior, it really matters. So when we're
Yeah.
talking about creating college and career, community-ready children, young adults that graduate, we believe that it's important to report back on these qualities of being responsible, respectful, and safe. And then they have broken down what it means to them at the high school too. So it's not just the words responsible, respectful, safe, but actually what does it mean in the life of a cardinal to be this? So, because we have age-appropriate targets for each age level, for each grade band, the teams have decided this, departments have decided what matters for their area and how they report it. But like, what I like is you're a little bit ahead because you're on quarters and you wanted to have something, so within 4.5 weeks you were already on it, which is great. So we're learning from them and then having the dialogue and conversations with the K-8 world and like that whole importance of, if you're giving a 1, make sure you're communicating. Absolutely. You don't want that to be a surprise on a report card. So I think it's great.
The last point, when we presented back in September, don't forget the one thing we did mention that is really the driver of this is that when we next year start reporting grades that are tied directly to learning targets, behavior then is separated from that grade. So you know that moving forward next year, when you see a learner's grade, it is strictly based on academic targets. There's no influence of compliance behaviors. That's all in the 3 2s and 1s. So if a child was to get a B in a class, they'll get the 3 2 or 1 next to it. The B stands strictly for academics. The 2 would stand for the behaviors, and that has never, that's not always been like that.
Not in our world.
No.
I like the idea that a student can stay, they don't have to leave. You get that privilege, but you can stay right put, you could go to a regular study hall if you chose to, and families just need to understand that. So if the flexibility is not something that, even though they've demonstrated they have a score, an average score of 3, but it's not something that the family's looking for, hey, it's an optional program. That's something to discuss with the family.
And I know some kids use it kind of as an as needed, so like my kid and his friends have their Cardinal Pass right now, but if they're behind on work for whatever reason, then they choose to stay.
And it is, if any teacher, and I did this in my previous district when I was teaching, it was, if I needed you to come in and retake or do test corrections or whatever I wanted you to do, I'd ask that person, hey, I need you here tomorrow night after that Cardinal time, and you better be there. And they were there, you know, it was, because they were responsible for doing it. What's your question?
I just wonder if you find that those who can't leave the building are using that time productively,
Well,
or just
here's the,
They'd be using it the same way they were before.
yeah, that hasn't really changed. We use the FlexiSched program so they can sign up for the teachers that they need to get help from. So if a child has got a D- in a class and 10 missing assignments, the expectation is that he's going to that teacher to get academic help at that time. Now, are they always using that appropriately? That's hard to say. But the reality is that that's what it's designed for. Because the ultimate goal is to get those grades up and give them those privileges if they've earned it.
2 parts.
Yeah.
First thing is, I appreciate what you're doing for the community as far as donations and stuff. That's awesome right there, and I appreciate it a lot.
Well, thank you very much. Kids are doing all of it.
Yeah, hey, that's great. Next thing is, I know we have 78 going up to 100, so we're roughly somewhere 26 to 33% somewhere in there. Are we gonna have a breakdown of, hey, these people are academic, these people are behaviors, or any chance we can get that in there?
Definitely.
Because I'm curious, what is our behavior percentage, what is our
okay, now,
academic?
this is
And
good.
I know some of them are gonna be,
Okay, what's interesting is that that presentation that they had, that's a hybrid, isn't it? So it actually included academic and behavioral.
And behavioral.
Our Cardinal score, the report for the measurement tool, will only be about the actual behavior.
okay.
So it's really interesting.
Okay.
So you will only
got
get
that.
that, you will only get that from Lee and Tom if they were to come and share with you state of the state in a report. Because it's not gonna be in one of our metrics.
I got it.
Because we're not
Okay.
measuring the amount of kids that qualify for their incentive. We're measuring what's the average Cardinal score, like a 2.5, and is that meeting our expectations or not? So that's really interesting, because that is a separate, they're in their own entity. The middle school does not have that incentive, like an incentive program around academic and Cardinal score together. Obviously Becky doesn't have that down at Parkview, so it's something really unique to them. And part of that is like what motivates a high school student, right? It's very different. So things like getting more responsibilities, that's very important to them as they are trying to fly their wings and get ready to
Way to
go
keep
on.
it going.
Keep it going.
And the one thing you always hear, and I've heard this for years and years and years, that it feels like a prison around here. It feels like a prison in here. And, when you do the right things, it doesn't have to be a prison. And the nice thing too is, we can have the camera shining on them at any time and they don't know it, from our offices, and we have done that.
So the kind of thing to do is to come back and to talk about those that qualify and just do it another level,
I
say
can-
what's academic and what's behavioral.
I can tell you right now, the list of students that are below a 2.0 right now, and the list of students that I have that are unexcused absence at least once, there's a pretty strong correlation there between attendance and grades, obviously. And the behavior piece isn't gonna be that different either, you know? But it was probably the most interesting few hours that I spent is when I was starting to go through those Cardinal scores. And then you see the kids that have the multiple ones, and I can't wait to see how that's changed from 9 weeks to 13 and a half.
But that correlation between attendance, discipline, and academics, that's our life. That's what
Yeah, it's
we,
always
that's
been
what we
there.
deal with. So when you talk about like the average out there in the United States of America, you look at surveys, and most people are pretty happy with the local school overall, right? But in the meantime, you still have some areas for growth, opportunities for improvement. That's the one right there. That's the group that is bringing down overall school achievement. That's the one on the school performance report card that you gotta watch, is the deal. So it's really, it's great to have an incentive program. Hopefully this is something that matters to them. It's about engagement. It's about trying to get them to say, hey, this stuff matters. In my life, as I'm getting college and career and community ready, whatever pathway I'm going down, this matters. So I think there's a lot of potential to support that engagement.
The other piece to piggyback on that with, you know, we look at the incentive pass, but that other group now has 45 minutes at the end of the day or 35 minutes of more individualized attention too. So it's really more of a target audience that we can work with and hopefully make some changes.
It will be very interesting to see how this works with that group.
Yeah. That would be the next thing for me to work with you guys to talk about our multi-level systems of support. It's called gifted and talented and at-risk stuff. And high schools naturally just have that in their course selections, but this block of time absolutely can be used to support that. So a good example, Lee mentioned time for ACT prep. So mandatory, you're coming for 2, but you could do more, and that could have a major return on investment for kids that are committed to it. So, which I think is great. So as much as we can do for preparation above and beyond their universal curriculum, you know, families want that. Look, we're providing that opportunity. So we're giving the AC practice ACT now with 8 weeks of extra time for them to dig in on those areas that they think that they need that improvement, which I think is perfect. So good job. That's great.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Oh, Tom, one other thing.
Whoop,
I'm sorry.
I'd never get away from
Could you mention what we did with Abby Van Beek today?
Oh, yes. Today was our second softball player this fall who has signed their national letter of intent to play softball collegiately. A few weeks ago, we had Delaney Vetter, who is going to Ellsworth Community College in Iowa to play softball. And tonight, Abby Van Beek signed with Trinity Christian College in Illinois. So had a nice, about 30 people showed up, and Angie made cupcakes for everybody, and the coach from Trinity was there. And then the girls basketball, I don't know who was coaching tonight, but they stopped practice and they all came into the gym lobby and watched her sign her letter. So it was really a nice thing.
Nice.
Very cool.
And we got to use the new backdrop in the game class.
Yeah. Yeah, nice bling.
All right, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Okay, moving on down to new business. We have resolution 1920-130. Approval of fuel bids. So moved. Motion by Dick. Second by Norris.
Sure, already.
Okay, so Travis, one company bid for the diesel and gasoline. The propane bid is done annually in the summertime, so that's locked in for the year, so we're buying it at a cheaper price. And then our one bid here, Travis is recommending that we lock in the cap price at the $2.84, and I questioned him on why not going fixed price for the lower dollar amount, and he said that if the market price drops below the cap price, then you receive the market price. He said he wants the security of the cap price. So then I said, maybe Dick could speak to that too. So
My contract's got on there, if you take the fixed price, you also pay for it ahead of time.
yeah.
So you have to pay,
So
what is it, 8,000?
have we ever taken the fixed price?
No.
Yeah, see, that's the other part too, is we've always done.
We always come out ahead.
So he believes that the last round though was $2.59. So
It
that
is higher right now.
It went higher.
And it's a good thing we get a year price for LP, because this year would be the highest it's been in 10 years for the farm, the frontage.
So it's pretty simple, recommendation